You might be familiar with the classic technique of breading and frying eggplant, but did you know that it's also common to find fried fennel in Italy? Combining these crispy vegetables with a spicy tomato sauce makes one of the most irresistible dishes you'll ever taste. Start by removing the ends and slicing one large eggplant into discs about a fourth of an inch thick. To make it easier as you get towards the end, you can stand it up and slice the last few pieces into planks. Place the slices in a bowl, sprinkle with a tablespoon of salt, and mix well. Transfer the eggplant slices to a strainer over the bowl, ideally standing them up so they're not stacked on top of each other. Let them sit for about 20 minutes to draw out excess moisture and reduce bitterness. Meanwhile, let's prepare the fennel. Slice off the stalks in the very bottom of the fennel bulb. Cut the bulb into 1/4 inch slices across the longer side of the fennel, making sure a part of the root is still attached to each piece to prevent them from falling apart during the cooking process. Although it's okay if a slice from both rounded sides doesn't include the root. Since fennel is a heartier vegetable, we need to pre-cook it before frying, or else the breading would become burnt before the inside is cooked. Bring a pot of salted water to a boil and gently drop the fennel slices into the water and cook for about 5 minutes, or just until tender. Once cooked, remove them and let them cool on a plate. In a medium saucepan over low heat, add about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, a couple crushed garlic cloves, and a pinch of crushed red pepper for some spice. Optionally add a stem of basil. You can tilt the pan and shallow fry the garlic cloves until they're golden and soft. Then pour in a small can of your favorite crushed tomatoes and a splash of water to get all the tomatoes out of the can. Stir in a pinch of salt and keep the sauce on the lowest heat, stirring occasionally until you're ready to serve. Next, prepare your breading station by whisking 3 eggs with a pinch of salt and pepper. In a separate bowl, combine 1½ cups of plain breadcrumbs with 1 tablespoon of minced parsley, a 1/3 cup of grated pecorino or Parmesan cheese, and another pinch of salt and pepper. Also place 1 cup of all-purpose flour in another bowl. Once the eggplant has sat for a while, you'll notice a good amount of liquid in the bottom of the bowl. Gently squeeze each slice to remove any remaining liquid. Then place them on some paper towels. Give them a good pat down to completely dry them off. This process removes all the bitterness from the eggplant and makes them very tender and sweet. Use 2 forks to bread the fennel, one for the wet and one for the dry to avoid battering your hands. Lightly coat both sides in the flour, then dip in the egg, letting any excess drip off through the fork. Next, drop it in the breadcrumb mixture and immediately cover both sides. Press the crumbs down firmly with your fork to ensure it sticks. Place the breaded fennel on a plate with a small amount of breadcrumbs underneath to keep them from sticking. After all the fennel is done, go ahead with the eggplant in the very same manner. Light coating of the flour, full coverage of the egg, pack down the breadcrumbs and add to the plate. Now we can fry everything. But before then, heat a large pan with neutral oil, like canola or vegetable, until it's about 1½ to 2 inches deep. Bring the oil to 350 degrees. Since the fennel are pre-cooked, they'll take about a minute or 2 less than the eggplant. Gently drop the fennel in batches of 4 or 5. When you first add them to the oil, gently nudge them around with your tongs to prevent sticking. You'll probably need to raise the heat after you add them to maintain the temperature of the oil. Once I start frying, I typically let the heat remain on high and then lower it in between batches. Cook for about 2 minutes, then flip and cook for another 2 minutes on the other side, or until they're lightly golden brown. Remove and drain on a wire rack, sprinkling with salt right away. Again, use the same process for the eggplant, except let them cook for about 6 minutes total. Slip in the eggplant slices in batches of 6 or 7, cooking for about 2½ to 3 minutes on each side, or until they reach a slightly darker golden brown than the fennel. The exact cooking time may vary depending on your pan and stove, so use color and texture as your guide. Don't be afraid to taste test the first batch if needed. Once all the eggplant and fennel are fried and salted, plate them up. Place the tomato sauce in a small bowl in the center and arrange the fennel and eggplant on opposite sides before enjoying.